get it started. So, stocks that are moving up at the moment. PKIN been coming up so far this morning. Looks like it had a little bit of a high right now. Higher volume coming in on this last 1 minute candle. I'm interested to see what it does here, coming up into $12 again. I didn't take a trade on it back here. Just pushing up. I'm gonna take 10 shares coming up into 12. See if we can get the push over 12.15. I bought a little high on this, so we're gonna keep the stop pretty tight, close to $12. Looks like we're holding pretty well though, pushing up into 12.50 right now. See how we do with the push over 12.50. Like we're struggling coming in 12.40. Buying 10 more shares as we come up here. Looking for the move up to 13. Pushing really nicely. Alright, just pushed above 13. I'm gonna sell off my shares right here. Look for a little bit of a pullback to buy back in now. This thing's coming in on higher volume though after 7:30 it looks like. Really the only thing moving at the moment. Let's see if we can get a pullback so we can buy back in on this. Holding its levels pretty well at the moment. I think it might just come straight back up through the pre-market high. So only broke by about 2 cents here. Now's maybe the time to look for a little bit of a pullback. Cam back up. So coming into this trade, I took my profit. Took the profit a little early, just because I bought in a little high. So I was gonna take the profit, wait for a little bit of a pullback. So seems like we're holding up pretty well at 13. 13 is not too much of a pullback, but if that's the level that we're holding, we should probably try to buy off of it. See what this next 1 minute candle does. Alright, so it dropped a little bit lower. Not too much. Seems like it's getting bought up below $13. Alright, I'm gonna buy 10 shares. Coming back up into 13. See how we hold this level again. And now bailout point's gonna be pretty close. So if we start holding below 13 here, we'll probably sell off our position. Otherwise, we want to look for the push back over 13. And then as we come up maybe through 13.25, we want to add shares to this. Those 1 minute candles closing in 5 seconds. So add shares coming up through 13.25. Now cost basis is 13.12, so a little high. Now if we come back down through 13, we probably want to sell off some of our position. But we want to see the move up through 13.25. Having a little bit of a hard time buying up here. So up bit now. Good. Struggling coming up into 1340. So I'm gonna take off half the position as we push up right now. Still holding on to 10 shares. Cost base is a little high, 1326. So we're gonna see what it does here in the 1350 area. Keeps pushing up. Price target's probably gonna be close to 14. Yeah, it seems to be struggling coming up into this area. Dropping back down a bit. See how this candle closes out, but looks like we're dropping a bit. Struggling to stay up in that 1340 area, so I'm going to sell off the position that I have right now. So again, look for a little bit of a pullback probably. Pretty extended on the 5 minutes, so maybe wait for a 5 minute. But you know, it took two decent trades there. Up $17 to start the day. I'll take it. Seeing a little bit of consolidation on the 1 minute here, but you know, it still has the potential to break out above this level. I think the 5 minutes looking pretty extended at the moment, so yeah. On the 5 minute, it did a kind of a little bit of a false breakout. Broke out only about 9 cents, and then has pulled back now close to 70 cents. So I would expect this to come down a little bit more. It's a little bit high right now for me to want to buy into. This current 5 minute candle is holding 13 pretty well though, which is nice to see. So maybe if it comes down to 13 again, it seems like it's holding up. We could buy off of that level. But again, I'd expect a little bit more pullback. We're $1.30, $1.40 up from VWAP right now, so I feel like it's due for a little bit of a pullback. And now it's 1 minute candle putting in a big wick. See how it closes, but you know, if this closes red here, I would think we'll drop below 13 coming into this next candle. So yeah, big wick, closing red, coming down into 13. Highest volume of the day so far is green candle. Second highest volume of the day though is a red candle. This last candle was fairly high volume, all things considered, and almost, you know, fully selling. Definitely more selling than buying on this last candle, whereas every other candle we've had has had more buying than selling, even on the red candles. And now it's essentially, you know, quadruple topped off of 365, 368 area for 1 minute. This 5 minute candle is about to close. 5 minute candle closed green. Thing moves up. I mean, like the obvious place to buy would be the push up over 1368. Now this would be a new high from the 5 minute. But it's just, I feel like it's so overextended. Been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 green candles on the 5 minute and only 1 red candle. Go over the charts here. You check it out. You can see here, you know, this thing's just been essentially in a straight line since it started coming up on news. I don't even know. It's not even coming up on news today. Um, I guess this company is somewhat related to NFT stuff. So that's why it's been pushing up, but no company specific news on it. So yeah, definitely with no company specific news, and it's just moved, essentially 50% with no pullback on the 5 minute. I'm gonna chill and wait for a little bit of a pullback on this. Maybe come down to VWAP or 1250, somewhere around there. Like to see that. SNES was coming up today, but has since pulled back. And of course, keep an eye on GameStop. Closing week yesterday. This is kind of what I thought from the day before. So the day before, it pretty much needed to come up over 220, or else, it was still essentially in a downward trend. It pushed up over 223 separate times that day and closed below it, which was definitely not good. We just had a little bit more of a breakout on ZKIN. See if it's going to hold these levels or sell off. Coming back down through 1360, so it looks like it's selling off a tiny bit. It looks really, really, really strong, but now buying up into these levels with the 5 minutes so extended, buying at 1360, 1370, I would need to hold through a pullback of down to 13. And if we pull all the way back to 13, 60-cent drop, and then it drops down below it, like I pretty much have to sell. Like I might be able to hold until 1287, but holding below that, it's just it's a break of trend in the opposite direction, and you have no way of knowing for sure if it's ever going to come back up. So you just gotta cut your losses. Like you can't be holding, praying that it's gonna come back up. And we already have some good profit on this today, so I don't want to give back the profit that I already have. I'm gonna try to take some safer trades on this. Just bounced off $13, so holding up at 13 pretty nicely. Bouncing off at 13 again. $13 might be the place to buy off of at the moment. I'm gonna give this a second. Wait until the next minute candle at least. I'll probably give it until the next 5 minute candle to see if the next 5 minute candle breaks down below 13. So 1 minute until the next 5 minute candle coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if this 1 minute candle jumped up a bit. Not too worried about anything going on here. Everything's still looking good at the moment. Broke through 13 barely, pushed down to 12.99. Seems like people are still holding this up though. So just dropped a flash down to 12.75. So I would probably want to buy off 12.50. Got a little closer to 12.50. Maybe below 12.65, buy some shares. Since now VWAP and this prior level of resistance are lining up pretty well. So a new 5 minute candle just started. We'll see how it fares pushing down into 50. It's getting bought up pretty well, so I'm gonna take some shares here. Bought pretty high, unfortunately. Keep the stop tight, or at least as tight as I can. Probably stop at 12.65. Since that's about where we pushed down to last time, 12.67, something like that. And now that we've put in like a pretty big red 5-minute candle, I think that's looking okay to me. It doesn't look like we're too extended anymore. Unfortunately, my cost basis is pretty high. So I might try to get out here and then get in at a lower cost basis if it, if it moves down again. So I'm gonna set my limit here. I think it might push back down, so I'm gonna try to get out and get in a lower cost basis. So, sell off my shares at the moment. It seems to be struggling getting over 13. Last 5-minute candle volume was essentially just as high as this big green candle volume, so the volume is not, indicating strength. And I got filled at a very bad cost basis. So, I mean, like, just cutting it as close to the cost basis as you can. If the indicators are not looking good, and then getting back in as it dips down again, it's a perfectly fine thing to do. So it just dropped down to 1270, but I think that's still a little high. Yeah, it's really selling off quite a bit coming into $13. Right now it seems to be pushing. It's pushed into 13 a couple times now, and every time it pushes into 13, it seems to be spiking down, like 20 or 30 cents nearly immediately. So that's kind of why I didn't like the cost basis that I was at. I was, by the time I got filled, I tried to buy the dip down into the 60s. I got filled at like 88, so I got filled 15, 20 cents higher than I wanted to get filled at. This 1-minute candle, yeah, is really high red volume, which is not good to see. I'd like to see this push down, closer to 50 and then see it hold up. Alright, push down to 50. See if we're getting bought up here. So I'm going to try to buy 10 shares down here. I got filled at 1245. If we continue dropping through this level, then I'll sell off pretty quick. So dropping to 1230. Let's see if we can hold 1225 here. No, it's not looking like it. And bought up a bit. Yeah, overall not looking great there. I was hoping, we'd get bought up pretty quick as it dropped through 50, since 50 was VWAP. But since that didn't happen, cut the dip trade pretty quick. I only took 10 shares. I was planning on buying more if we came back up through this 1260 area. But now we want to wait for a 5-minute setup on this to buy in, probably. Or, we could take the 1-minute setup here with the expectation of the 5-minute setup resolving. But we've had quite a lot of selling in the last 2 5-minute candles. So really now this 1-minute setup is going to be back above VWAP. And then, so we could buy coming back up to VWAP, and then add as we do the 5-minute setup coming out of 13. So I think that's what I might end up doing here as we put in this next 1-minute candle. So we got 10 seconds left on this candle. And if this next 1-minute candle starts pushing up pretty immediately through 40, then I'll probably buy some shares looking for the push over 50. And if we drop, I mean, if we put in another red candle now, 5-minute red candle, then we'll have, put in 2 5-minute red candles below VWAP. And it's probably not a great sign, and we may not see this thing come back up for a while. It might require some more time. So we want this next candle to push up, like I said, as we're coming up through 50. Maybe I'll try to snag some shares in the 40s. 1240, and then look for this 5-minute setup to push back over $13. Alright, so now on the 1 minute, 1232 is the place to buy. And then our stop is going to be like 1211, 1210. Oof. Thing immediately dropped through $12. Yeah, it's looking rough. Alright. If it holds down here, I assume we're gonna. If this 5-minute candle closes red, then it's gonna be a while before we get another setup on it, unfortunately. So I think we did a pretty good job on this with this trade. We bought shares coming up through $12 here on this setup. We didn't buy back here because it was very, very light volume on the first few moves up. But once it made this move on a little bit higher volume and then pulled it back, we bought coming up through 12, and then we sold off just above 13, as it came into this consolidation area, because it's still a little bit lighter on the volume, a little bit higher price stock, so I took my profit as we came up. And then I took I took like 1 or 2 shots on dip trades down here, so I think I was up, $17, $18, something like that, and now we lost $4 on the way down, so up $14 total on this. So this trade here, we pretty much got like nearly a full dollar on 20 shares, which pretty nice. It seems to be holding above 12 at the moment, which is good. Like I said, 2 minutes from now, 5-minute candle is going to close. Depending on how this 5-minute candle closes, I think we'll kind of point it in the direction it's going to go for the rest of the pre-market. I think holding up over 12.15 is going to be a big deal. Ending green would be good, but I don't know if it's going to be able to do that. I think still the buy coming up into 12.50 might be okay if this 5-minute candle closes maybe between 12.20 and 12.40. Because if it closes like that, then it's like a little green hammer on the 5-minute, which is a pretty positive indicator. It means it sold off, but then people immediately bought it back up. So 1 more minute on the 5-minute, and we'll get to see how it ends here. But if it starts dipping back down, comes back down close to 12, or even back down into the 11s, it's just probably going to be a lost cause. LKCO just popped up on the scanners. A little bit lighter volume. We'll see what happens with it. Alright, we got 15 seconds left on this 5-minute candle. And we dropped below 12. Unfortunate. Yeah, I don't love the look of that. So now we put into, red 5-minute candles below VWAP. It's not spectacular. Probably going to have to wait quite a while to get a buying setup on this. I mean, we did do it on decreasing volume. But now, the 5-minute breakout's going to be at 12:30, and we would have to hold down to 1180. So, 50% 50% pullback. And since we've been selling off so strongly, it doesn't give me like great hopes that we're gonna come back up to these pre-market highs. It seems like there's quite a lot of people selling into this. If we look on the daily, we're above recent highs, definitely. Actually, yeah, we're like, yeah, this is almost all-time highs right now. When we hit this pre-market high, there was only one other day in the history of this ticker that it was higher, and it went up to 16. So we tapped 14 today. So we're only $2 off the all-time highs. Unfortunately, that day that there was all-time highs, it literally pulled back its entire move. Went up to 16 and then came all the way back down to $9. Not great. So just made a new 5-minute high. Tapped off VWAP and pulled back. LKCO completely pulled back at the entirety of its move. Not really too much to say there. So I'm going to take a trade on this now. I want to see it come up above VWAP. And then I want to see it retest VWAP on the way down. Or maybe as it's coming closer to 13, if it looks strong at 13 and we get a little pullback down into the 80s or the high 70s or something, might be able to buy coming into that. But after all of the selling that we just saw coming in on this, I really need this to like give me some confidence to want to buy it, and not that it's just going to get sold into every time it pushes up to these levels. So it just tapped off VWAP and then sold off 35 cents. Kind of the thing that we were expecting to see. I would have been shocked if it came through VWAP and actually just ripped through it and started going higher. After, you know, all the weakness in the last 3 5-minute candles that we've seen. Yeah, the volume is, you know, almost equivalent on the highest green candle and the highest red candle. So, quite a lot of selling coming in. GME looking P weak right now. Yeah, I was expecting it to drop quite a bit yesterday. Ended down. Started 215 and ended, you know, close to 200. So it dropped $15 yesterday. I would expect to see this trend continue. Just, you know, look. So we have this massive red candle here on the 1 hour. Then we have this consolidation period. It broke down, right? Now it's holding in essentially the bottom of this wedge. And it's trending towards the bottom edge of it. So I would expect, you know, to see this, if it does break down through 200 again, to drop, you know, and retest probably these 170 levels. It had the chance to break back up as it came up over 220, and it just couldn't hold it. It's folded back over. So, don't love it, and also, you know, decreased volume. So it seems like just people aren't nearly as interested in trading it at the moment. Take a look at some of the stuff that we were looking at yesterday. As I say this, TAOP just came up. I feel like TAOP came up yesterday, but it came up on such light volume, and I feel like it's the same way today. It just jumped from $13.20 up to, you know, nearly $16 on 15,000 shares of volume. So it's just like, how can you take a trade on that? CLVS coming up. Oh, so it just hit 8 o'clock, so might see some more things coming up. So CLVS, put that in the active trader window. Just because it has really nice volume here. Over 200,000 shares of volume traded in the first 1 minute candle. So we'll see if we can get a move back up on this. Pushing back up to its all-time, or its pre-market highs right now. We'll buy 10 shares, just see if we can get the breakthrough. Immediately pulled back. So coming back up. SLDB. I'm probably gonna jump out of this just because it's looking weak right now. It's significantly less volume on this second green candle. It broke out but then immediately pulled back, so I'll just pull out for the little loss I have right now. SLDB. The ZKIN's looking weak right now, so let's check out SLDB. SLDB, I mean, at least for day trading, it looks terrible today. Literally, like, no volume coming in at all. I do recognize this name, so I assume that there were days when it traded pretty well. So back here it traded, but traded on higher volume, but all red. It's looking like the hourly. Yeah, so this day back here was pretty solid. It looks like whenever it pops up on news, it does really well. It's just, at least today, it's not doing anything, so don't think it's going to be one I'm going to trade. And as we were talking about that, CLVS popped back up, but seems to be quite a lot of indecision. It's pretty volatile. It's popping up 50 cents, pulling back 40 cents immediately. Let's look at the daily on this. The daily, within the last couple weeks, it has been up in this $11 area. So there's quite a lot of room to move up before it gets back to its recent highs. And, putting a ton of red candles in a row on the daily here. So I would be worried that we're going to encounter a lot of selling coming up just because people are holding from back here. And this is like a common trend that we've seen in the last few weeks where there's been quite a few stocks early in February, late January when GameStop was going crazy, the market was going straight up still, that hit all-time highs or at least very high recent highs. Pretty much pulled back the entirety of February, and then when we see them trying to push up now, they're just encountering all these people who are just holding shares from the previous highs, looking for opportunities to get out of the next bump up. So this is like not uncommon. We've seen this happen, probably a dozen, 2 dozen times in the last few weeks. And in recent experience, we'll see maybe the first good bump, second bump, and then we'll just see it like sell off for the rest of the morning. We'll see if CLVS ends up like this. What's the float on this thing? CLVS 100 million share float? Really? I'm actually going to restart my scanners real quick. Just because I didn't update my ticker list this morning, so I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Because recent IPOs, new tickers being listed, those happen, on a somewhat daily, weekly basis. You see a few new ones. So I usually try to update my ticker list every morning. This morning I forgot, so I just have a script to do it. So stuff should be up on Olive Guardians again now. yeah, if you're in the chat, you're new here, and you want to follow along with the stuff that I'm buying and selling, check out oliveguardians.com. I got all my scanners up there, so everything that I trade in the morning comes off those scanners. I usually, when I first sit down, I look at anything that's moved above 25% to see if there's anything that's, made some really nice moves this morning. SNES is the highest gapper at the moment, but it's also pulled back a pretty significant amount of its move, so it's not one that I'm actively watching. And then the movers is anything that's being actively traded, so moved up more than 8% in the last 5 minutes. And that's usually where I catch stuff that's coming up on news, and then I try to take trades on that when the momentum is with it and when new buyers are still jumping in. So check those out at oliveguardians.com. CLVS, the most recent mover that popped up, but seems to be pulling back a bit. So this is, story of the last few weeks. Came up really nicely, pulled back 50% of the move so far. And I mean, we'll still keep an eye on it. It does have the potential to come back up, but I'm just worried about this daily chart and us running into, all of this recent resistance. So, there's like resistance coming into $8, resistance coming into $8.60, $9.60. So it's just resistance all the way up. Yeah, and 690 was a big point of resistance. So you can see we went up to 699 and then immediately pulled it back. So at least the daily chart holding true on that one. ZKIN now has pulled back very significantly. We were watching it earlier on this candle here, this 1 minute candle on the trying to break through VWAP. It tapped off VWAP and pulled back. Obviously that was a bad sign, so we didn't end up taking a trade on it. What we would have wanted to see is we wanted to see it push up through VWAP, try to retest, come back down, see if it'll hold above VWAP, and then if it held above VWAP as it pushed up through 13, I was planning on buying there. Unfortunately now, it's essentially tapped VWAP, tapped it again over here, and then just fell off completely. So we're still up, about $14 on ZKIN, but I really doubt we're gonna take another trade on it today. It just does not look good. Fortunate. We can check out SNES. I kind of said that today it made a nice move. Pre-market, starting at 5 o'clock, it was at $2. It moved all the way up to $4.60, but it's just steadily been coming down for the rest of the morning. So I think it's going to be a bit before we see that come back up, if it is going to come back up. And highest volume of the day so far is on selling candles, so it doesn't look likely that it's going to come back up, considering it's just been sitting below VWAP. So CLVS now does have a buying point as it comes up through 633 right now. So on the 1 minute chart, as we push up through there, 5 minutes looking fairly large and red. So really the buy point for this would be like, as it's coming up through 630, we'd want to buy for the expectation to break over this 5 minute high. And if it popped up through 633 and immediately pulled off VWAP, we'd probably have to sell our position. If it popped up through 655 and then, started pulling back, we'd also have to sell our position. But I don't even know if I'm going to end up taking a trade on this. Like I said, just in recent weeks, we've seen how these stocks have generally been going, and generally when they do something like this, and you look at the recent daily highs, and there's a lot of resistance on the way up, then it never really recovers. And it is unfortunate. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it push back down through $6. Not really too much to comment on at the moment. We can look at some of the stuff that was popping up yesterday. So we had OCG coming up really nicely yesterday, and yeah, this is a kind of similar to CLVS. I'm pretty sure. Oh, actually, no. Oh no, this was the one that was like literally all-time highs except for this one point, which is similar to ZKIN at the moment. Unfortunately, ZKIN is pulling back. OCG, this thing just grinded up throughout the whole pre-market. It was looking really nice. So it jumped up, had a bit of a pullback, was holding below VWAP for a little while, but then just made steady moves all the way from 8 o'clock, to 9:10, just steadily pushing up the entire morning. So I was hoping maybe ZKIN would be something like that this morning, but ZKIN, although it was close to all-time highs, it's now pulled back. If it was holding right below VWAP, it would have been really nice, but it's pulled back, dollars from VWAP now, so it just looks like it's not in the cards there. We took a trade on BHTG yesterday too. So BHTG, insane 5-minute chart. So if we look at the 1 minute, it kind of did something similar to what we're seeing like CLVS do right now. But yesterday we caught the trade as it pulled back here on the 1 minute. So pushed up all the way to 330, pulled back down to below 3, and then as it was getting bought back up through 3, I took like 200 shares pushing through 3, and then ended up selling them off for I think 25-cent profit coming up through 340. I bailed out before this big red candle came through, and then it pretty much spent the rest of the morning pulling back, which you hate to see, but a lot of these have been doing stuff like this recently. JG, I think we ended up taking a trade on yesterday, but we ended up losing money on this. So, similar deal here, where within the first 4 minutes of trading, it had made probably like a 75% move, pushed up from 6 to 8. It only made like a 35% move, so it made a 35% move, but with essentially no pullbacks. So I was waiting for pullbacks on this to try to take trades, and just really none came. I think I ended up taking one trade on it somewhere close to here, as it was pushing up through 750. But then I didn't take any shares off at the top, and I think I was holding through the pullback when it came back down. So, an unfortunate thing. And then similar story to the rest of them, where it just pulled back and kind of just went sideways until the market opened and kind of fell off. AREC was looking good yesterday too. Another one where it popped up on news, completely sold off coming into the open. So now you can see, like, as I'm showing you guys, like, the stuff that we were looking at yesterday, it's like it makes sense why we should be more careful on CLVS. Because tomorrow, I'm sure I'll look back at this and I'll be like, oh yeah, look, it had a nice pop, 3 green candles in a row without too much of a pullback, and now it's just selling off and under VWAP. So it's been the story of the last few weeks. So now that we have that in mind coming into today, we know that we should be more careful on stocks like this. So SPCB just popped up on the scanner. Things seem to be moving pretty nice. Pushing up fairly well right now. Very high volume on this candle. What's the news on this? COVID-19 quarantine compliance project with Israeli government. Okay. So a buying point could have been pushing up over 234 right now, but I want to wait for like an actual red candle to be put in. But it seems like in recent days, it's like waiting for the red candle is like, as soon as it starts putting in a red candle, it's dead. Like, by the time it puts in a red candle, you've already missed the opportunity. So this thing's still just pushing. let's see, candle ends in 10 seconds. It seems to be climbing pretty well at the moment. See what this next candle starts with. So, it seems to be pushing up. I'm going to take some shares for this move up through $3. So, see if we can get through 3. Took 30 shares at 282, so not really a massive position. Seems to be struggling a little bit coming up into 3, unfortunately. So we'll see if it pops through here. Having a little bit of trouble coming up into 3. I'm gonna take off a few shares as it comes up into 290, since it seems like it's struggling up there. And we're pulling back a little bit, so I'm probably going to take off a few more of these shares. Now, pretty big wick on this candle, and I assume this next candle is probably going to push lower, so I'm going to sell off. This really big wick on this 1 minute candle, definitely a little spooky. So this is like the expectation after this, that we sell off a bit. So now I guess the next buy is over $3 if we want to try to do that. Realistically, I probably should have taken this trade above 234, but I wanted to wait to see, what kind of volume we were dealing with and if we could get a pullback. I bought the move over 280. Cost base is 282 with 30 shares. I sold, a couple going into 290 as it looked like that it was struggling to come up over 3. But really, I ended up breaking even on it because it immediately pulled back. And this is like a lower price stock, so you expect lower or smaller moves. So with 30 shares, even if it moved up another 30 cents, I wasn't going to be making too much money on it. So we'll see if this thing ends up with the same story as everything else that we've seen this morning. This looks like it's already broken through its recent highs. Looks like there should be some resistance coming into some of these levels back here. So it's 284 makes sense. So we kind of hit resistance coming up into 3, since that's some recent resistance on it. But it looks to be in a better position at least than some of this other stuff that we've been looking at. So CLVS, as I said before, was looking a little rough, just because the recent highs were so close and they were so much higher. And CLVS still kind of just chilling right now, not really doing too much. So see, we push up on this new high over 266. Or if we're going to sell off here. So it's kind of a little bit of indecision. I'm going to buy some shares, see if we can get this push above 266. Looks like we got some buying coming in. Otherwise, I'll cut it pretty close. If it drops down to 250, I'll cut this. If we push up through 266, I'll buy more shares. But SPCB on the daily chart looks, it looks primed. It looks like it's ready to go. It doesn't look like there's nearly as much resistance as some of these other things that we've seen recently. So we're coming back up. Push through 270. Buy 10 more shares through 270. Cost basis right now is 266. Let's see if we can hold above 280. If we can hold above 280, then we'll try to buy some more shares coming up into $3. 284, this previous resistance point. So you see we just tapped off of it. Let's see if we can break through that. Struggling a little bit coming up into 284. But, big buy order coming through, just blew through that level. So holding up. Good so far. We come up over 3 in this, first push here, I'll probably take off half my position. So we're pushing up into 3 right now. Alright, so sold off half the position coming up over 3. So I still have 10 shares sitting at 270. I didn't end up buying any more because I kind of wanted to see a little bit of, like a holding pattern above 280. But in the first push over 280, we shot straight through 3. So it didn't really give me an opportunity to sit for a second and try to get some more shares. I'm holding above 3 pretty nicely right now. I say as it immediately breaks through. So my current cost basis is 270. Fiat Morta, thank you for following. Really appreciate that, man. If you want to follow along with me stock-wise, check out oliveguardians.com. I got the scanners up there. And what I'm trading right now has been popping up for the past few minutes on there. So holding above 290. If we push above $3 now, I might try to add on to my position. Since I have a decent cost basis going into this, I'm already 30 cents up on it. If we start dropping below 290 though, then I'll consider closing my position. So I bought 10 shares coming up over 3. So now we're looking for the move back up through 310. As far as 5-minute candles, when this candle closes, this will be our third green 5-minute candle in a row. So a little extended on that, but I'm not going to be too worried until this candle actually closes. So pushing up right now. So when we start seeing some resistance in our pushes, we're probably going to want to sell off our position. It just popped up to 314 and nearly immediately sold off. So that was a bit of a dip. Coming into 290. If we hold 290, I think we're looking okay. But yeah, it looks like we're breaking down through it. Unfortunate. So we'll see if we hold up. Holding 289. Yeah, okay. So at least selling off half my position here. Because it looks like we're struggling a bit. Alright, I'm selling off my whole position. So I sold it off at my cost basis on the way down. oliveguardians.com. It's on the bottom of the stream. It says it. Free scanners. Yeah, so I watch usually anything that's moved above 25%, which is like when you first sit down, those are the things you're going to be looking at to see what people have been trading this morning. And then the movers are pretty much anything that's coming up on news, actively being traded. It's moved up more than 8% in the last 5 minutes, then it'll pop up there. So generally, I use the above 25%, just kind of when I first get here, look around and be like, all right, what have people traded? Have those things pulled back a little bit. How are they looking for a move back up? And then as it comes into, times where you would think news would come out on them, like 8 o'clock, 8:30, I'll look at the movers and see if anything starts popping up on news, which is how we found SPCB just recently. Seems to be struggling coming up into 3 right now. As soon as it popped up over 314, or up to 314, this thing just pulled back hard. So I'm probably going to wait to take a trade on this. And like I said, now this 5-minute candle just closed. So now we put in 3 pretty big 5-minute green candles in a row. So now on the 5-minute, we're looking a little bit extended. So I would expect some more resistance pushing up into these levels. Yeah, and if you got any suggestions for scanners you guys want to see, anyone else in the chat, if you got suggestions for scanners or criteria for scanners that you think are good and will yield indicators that you think we can trade off of, I'd be happy to throw them on the site. So you drop me a message and we can figure it out. So on this trade in SPCB, you know, I bought for the push up over 266. Let's bring up the trading window here. I bought for the push up through 266. I bought relatively low share size though. I was only holding 20 shares coming up into here because a lot of the stocks that we've seen recently have had quite a hard time after they make their initial pullback. They really have not been pushing back up very well. So just to like shield myself from some of the risk, I bought smaller share size as we were pushing up. I wanted to see some consolidation below 3, you know, at least put in maybe like one candle or a little bit of a pullback, you know, like go over 290, pull back to 280, 285, and then push back up. And then on the push back up, I was going to buy some shares, but we pretty much moved in a straight line all the way up past 3. I sold off my first shares as we came up through 3, so then I was only holding 10 shares. And then as we came down, when it was holding 290 on this candle, I bought additional shares as we pushed up through 3 again, and it rejected really hard off 314. So I essentially ended up break even on the last 20 shares that I was holding. And then, yeah, I made 50 cents or close to it on the first 10 shares that I bought. And that happens. I mean, I could have been quicker on it to try to catch it as it came up through 314. I was expecting it to hit some resistance coming back up into this level since it rejected off of it pretty hard the last time we came up into it. But I wanted to give it, you know, the opportunity to move up. I was hoping it would catch itself at 3, but it just blew right through 3 and, you know, pushed down to 290. It's unfortunate. Now we got 2 minutes to 8:30, and then hopefully at 8:30 we'll have some new stuff popping up. As far as SPCB goes, I'd like this 5-minute candle to close red. I think that would be the best thing for it at the moment. And then let's clear these drawings, and then if this 5-minute candle closes red, so look at the charts again. The 5-minute candle closes red, you know, the break over $3, which would be really nice, is going to be both the break of the previous 5-minute candle, which is, you know, a good indicator people usually buy off of, and then also the breakthrough a whole dollar of $3, which is another thing that people buy into. So, you know, we have 2 positive indicators on the breakthrough $3 if this 5-minute candle closes red. So I think that would honestly be the best thing for it. And then if this closes red, we can even get in a little earlier for the breakup through one of these 1-minute candles. You know, so as it starts pushing up maybe through 290, buy with the expectation for the move through 3. And then if we just get stuffed at 3, then we have a better cost basis so we can sell on the way back down. So yeah, 45 seconds. We'd like this to hold below 3 right now. You know, if it pushes back up to 3, then it's gonna be our 4th green 5-minute candle in a row, which is not what we want, really. I say as it's pushing up. So now, yeah, so now if this closes high like this, we got 4 green 5-minute candles in a row, so we're even more extended than we were previously. And then we'll probably have to wait for another bit of a little pullback to actually buy in. Okay, so now 10 seconds. Even though we are a bit extended on the 5-minute, I mean, we have to wait for this next 5-minute candle and see if we can take the trade over $3. So let's see what this next 5-minute candle does. Selling off a bit. Let's see, pushing. So I bought 10 shares for the pushing up through $3. Let's see if this 5-minute candle can break up through 3. So we broke up through 3. I bought 10 more shares. Cost base is $3 right now. We'll see if it can hold up as it pushes through 310. It's looking like it's having a little bit of a rough time. So now as it touches 314, we should keep in mind that the last time it rejected off 314, that it sold off really hard. So if it starts rejecting quite hard, we should get out of the position we're holding because it will most likely come back down through $3. And it's pushing down to 3 right now, but it's not a super hard move like we saw previously. And it's not off of, this 314 level, so we haven't quite come up and tapped that yet. So I'm still happy to hold these shares at the moment until we see, a larger reaction either to the upside or the downside. Just check out this. Daily chart to see if we have any daily resistance or anything. So it looks like we're pushing down to 3 right now. So I don't love to see that. We have 15 seconds until this candle closes. We'll see how the candle ends up closing. If we get bought back up to above 3, I think we're still looking good. If we start selling off this next candle to below 295, we gotta probably sell our position off. What's going on, Mac? How's it going? Trying to get a trade here on SPCB, but it is not cooperating. So dropping down, sold off half my position as we're coming down now. So yeah, so it looks like we're pushing down a little bit. It's having some trouble up here, and now, at least on the 1 minute, we have some descending resistance and maybe a little bit of ascending support. I'm probably going to wait on this until, yeah. So I mean, if you look at the 5 minute, it just looks like abysmal right now. It's it broke out above $3, now has pulled back, so really big wick on the 5 minute. So just really not what you want to see. If we buy back up to above $3, maybe we could be okay. We got a minute and 45 left on this 5 minute. House MD, I appreciate the follow, man. Thank you very much. If you guys want to follow along with the scanners that I have up, check out oliveguardians.com. I pull all of the stocks that I trade every morning off of there, so you guys can do your own thing and not watch me and just use the scanners, or you can follow along with what I'm doing and see my ideas about what I think are good stocks and where I think the setups are. And I run those all day. I usually bring them up at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So feel free to use them whenever you guys want. And if you have any ideas about them, if you guys got criteria for scanners that you usually use or that you've seen other people use that seem like they're nice, drop me a message and maybe I can add those scanners up on the website. CLVS looked like it was coming up a little bit for a minute here, but has since pulled back below VWAP again, so I have a feeling this is probably going to be the last we see of it this morning. I don't think that it's going to make a move back up. And SPCB, dropped below VWAP, which is not really what you want to see. It does have the potential to come back up, but right now, big wick on this 5 minute candle, and it's a red candle so far. It's got 5 seconds left on it, so it's going to be closing red, and it's got quite a big wick on it, so it's not really a super good indicator. Also, highest volume candle of the day, which is also really not a good indicator. So we got two things working against us right now on SPCB. And now, as far as like buying points on this, really you'd want to buy as it came back up to the pre-market highs, but this thing hasn't really been making spectacular breakouts. So if we maybe put in another green 5 minute candle right now, maybe upwards towards 3, and then the next 5 minute candle we can buy through the break of 3, I think that would be a good thing to do. If this pushes up now, though, to the top of this previous 5-minute candle, I don't think I could buy into this, since we've seen a lot of resistance coming into this 314 level. You know, it's tapped up there a couple times and sold off, and it sells off pretty hard. So, you know, if this candle makes a 30-cent move to move up to there, it's already a pretty extended candle as far as, you know, these other candles are concerned, where most of the time they've been making moves of, you know, like 10, 20 cents or something like that. So I wouldn't think that it would break too strongly through 314. So if it came up that high right now, I couldn't take a buy on it. But if it puts in another, you know, a little bit of a green candle here, a consolidation candle, and then maybe we can buy through the break of that, I would be much more willing to do that. So, I mean, we'll see what it gives us. You know, obviously you can't control the market. It could just start selling off now. We never see it come back up. So it's just something to keep an eye on. We'll watch it, see what it does, and if it puts in another setup for us, then we'll buy, and if it doesn't, then we'll pass and we'll wait for something else to come along. WTRH popped up on the scanners while we were, you know, looking at SPCB, but, you know, on the 1 minute, so it's a higher price stock, floats a little higher, 90 million shares, quite a high float. And almost 0 shares traded on this thing. You know, on the 1 minute, it's just trading 30,000 shares for the 2 highest 1 minute candles. For a 90 million share float stock, it would need to be trading significantly higher volume for us to buy this, because it's not going to be making huge moves, you know, unless there's significant volume coming into it. And it's pulled back, so actually, just kidding. This is not a higher price stock. I thought it said 30. It's a $3 stock, but very, very high float, so I don't think we're going to take a trade on this unless we see significant volume coming into it. You know, we'd want to see 1 minute candles with 150,000, 200, 300, 400,000 shares traded for us to be confident that this is going to make a big enough move for it to be worth it. So take a pass on that right now. Come back to it at some point. GME selling off a tiny bit. Still kind of chilling just above 200. I expect if GME drops below 200 today, that it's going to be a rough ride on the way down, because, you know, it tapped that 175 level. What was it now? Like a week or two ago. Look on the daily. I'll get the hourly up. Yeah, so, you know, a week or two ago, high of 350, came down, tapped off of this 172 level. Again, just a few days ago now, tapped off of 172. So now we got a double bottom at 172. Kind of a descending wedge where it's trending towards the bottom of it. I would expect that if we come back down, you know, through 200, you know, here 195, breaking down through 195, I expect we'll get another test of this 172 level. And I mean, since it's been pushing into it pretty consistently, I wouldn't be surprised if it broke through. And I think if it breaks through, there's just going to be a selling frenzy. I think people are just going to be trying to bail out while they still have money in their positions. So, unfortunate thing to see, because it was really fun to watch GameStop as it was going up, you know. But all good things come to an end, I suppose. I don't really know the state of GameStop, at least like fundamentally. I feel like every other day on Wall Street Bets, it's like you see like a person post and it's like short float of GameStop, actually 400%, and then the next day you post and it's like short float of GameStop is actually only 20%, and the squeeze is over. So I don't know who to trust, to be honest with you. So if it continues trending down, though, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to be done. So SPCB kind of doing, you know, what I wanted it to do. Put in a green candle, you know, close to $3 here. So pushing up through 3 now. Buy 10 shares of it for the push up through 3. Just kind of shield myself from some of the downside of this by keeping small share size. And then if we start pushing up some more and holding above 3, then I'll maybe buy some more shares. But 10 shares right now, cost basis $3. If we start pushing up through 314, and 314 is looking, it looks like we're looking strong through 314, then I'll try to buy some more shares on this. Because on the daily, we should be, I'll put up the active trading window here. On the daily, we should be pretty good. I mean, there shouldn't be a ton of resistance coming up, if we break up through 314. Gonna try to buy into this with the with the courage that it's going to go up, the idea that it's going to go up. Because now we've taken a few trades on this that haven't really worked out after this initial trades that we took. I mean, it seems like it's coming back down a little bit again. So hold these shares down to 290 right now. It's the should be the low of this 5-minute candle. It's just really struggling above $3, man. We're coming down right now. Just broke through 295. High volume on this last red 1-minute candle, which is not what you want to see. Highest volume on the 1 minutes, though, still green candles, which is good. This is a little bit high for my taste on this red candle back here. But we'll see if it recovers. And I mean, now at this point, there's no worry about it being overextended. It's put in about 31-minute consolidation candles. All between 280 and 314. So on the 1 minute, this thing is solidly where it should be. On the 5-minute, we've put in 3 consolidation candles, and this is the breakout candle. So this thing should be able to move up. And again, we just tapped off of 310. It's just really struggling coming up into these levels, man. I don't know what's going on with it. And on the daily, it doesn't really look like there should be a ton of resistance there. It was like a recent high, at 310, somewhere around there. But I don't think there should be too many people, holding from up above there. So I don't think there should be too many people, trying to get out of their position into that level. So I would assume that this is people just, with a position from today or shorting into those levels. So drop below 290. I'm going to cut the position right now. 2 false breakouts on the 1 minute. 5-minute candle now. Huge wick. Another pullback. Similar to what we saw in this previous candle. It's just, really, really underwhelming movement from it right now. We wanted to see this 5-minute candle, hold up at least above 3. We're closing in 10 seconds, and we're pushing, pushing lower down to 290. Struggling at 295 to even stay up right now. Just don't love it. Do not love it. It's pushing up a bit right now, though. So, this last 5-minute candle was the highest volume candle. And although it was a green candle, it had a pretty big wick. It pushed up. So, let's show you guys the 5-minute right now here. So fairly large wick, had a breakout, and then didn't hold the breakout level. So two things you don't like to see, and extremely high volume on that. So on a highest volume candle of the day, you want to see a more clear move than that. So all this high volume is telling me is that yeah, we can buy up into these levels, but as soon as we start touching these levels, people are just selling like it's their job. There's so much selling coming into these levels. We'll see what this one does. So just pushed up, tapped off 315. We'll see if we get sold off into similar to what we've seen previously. So yeah, tap 315, selling back down into 3 at the moment. So really, when you see stuff like this, like you have to, like, although it is still technically trending up, like when we had a breakout back here, it broke out from $3.10 to $3.14. So it was a 4-cent breakout, followed by a 30-cent pullback, a little bit more, 34-cent pullback. Now it's a similar thing where it's like we broke out from 314 to 315, a 1-cent breakout, to a 20-cent pullback, 19-cent pullback. It's just like are those the kind of like profit loss ratios that you want? The breakouts have just been so underwhelming, and the dips have been really strong. So even if this continues trending up, I don't know if this is a one that I want to take another trade on. And it is 11 million share float, so still pretty low. So for the amount of volume that we're seeing coming into this, you would expect it to move a little bit more. This last 1-minute red candle that I just put in, that touched the new high, had 1.35 million shares of volume traded in it, and it ended red. So not what you want to see. And on the 5-minute, even though we have 2 minutes left on this candle, but it's putting in another green candle with just a massive wick. And I'm wondering how many of these we can have before this thing actually starts selling off and drops below VWAP. It just, all of the indicators don't look great on it. So I will not be taking another trade on this until, I don't know, maybe as we come into 9 it'll start looking better. But pretty much every indicator that I'm looking at now looks not so great on this. Really, I mean, when it broke up over 310 here on this last candle, and it came up and tapped 315, like it had to have held that level for me to have any confidence to want to trade this again. And the fact that it just immediately sold off again like it did both other times that it came up into this level is just like, I don't know, it just does not look great. So instead, we will keep an eye on the scanners, see if anything else comes up. We can check out some of the other stuff that was coming up today. SNES popped up earlier, but is now pulled back completely, so not something we're super interested in. ZKIN as well. VWAP now up near $12, and it's sitting at 1070. It's just not really one you want to trade. It had really nice movement in the beginning of the day, so I was hoping this thing would kind of be like OCG from yesterday, where it was just going to grind higher as the morning went on, but ended up falling off. So BBIG just popped up on the scanners. BBIG come up on fairly light volume. This 1-minute candle is only sitting at 20,000 shares right now, so not something we'd be interested in trading. No news on it. It must have been someone just had like some block order that they pushed through Premarket. Doesn't really look like too much else is going on in it. 10 minutes to 9 o'clock now. And as we come to 9 o'clock, we want to, keep an eye on the scanners, checking for anything that's coming up on news. Pretty common time for stuff to come up on news, and I would say that a lot of the time when stuff comes up on news at 9 o'clock, you see a much stronger reaction to it because more people are, sitting there getting ready to trade at 9 o'clock. It's more likely that people will see it and then start making trades on it. Also, 9 o'clock is when all of the, I guess, trading apps open. So it's like 4 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock. There's like a smaller subset of trading available pre-market for people. 7 o'clock is when a few of the major ones open. I know TD Ameritrade opens at 7 o'clock for pre-market trading. And then 9 o'clock, you'll see like Robinhood open, and maybe Webull, like the more like phone, like mobile app pre-market trading people. I'll hop in at 9 o'clock and start trading. So, usually see more volume coming in when you see stocks jump up at 9 o'clock. And I've been waiting for, pullbacks on some of these stocks that have been popping up on news. It seems like waiting for an actual red candle to form has not been the strategy in the last few weeks. If you see something coming up on news, most of the stuff that we see popping up that has had follow through, it's usually sitting above 200,000 shares traded in the first minute that it comes up on news. And then usually the second minute follows with another green candle. So I've been waiting for a red candle to form on the 1 minute and then trying to do the buy over that. And usually you do get a move on the first, red 1 minute candle that forms. But it seems like I'm missing out on a lot of opportunity by not buying the immediate break on the second 1 minute green candle. So I think I'm going to try to do that on the next thing that pops up with significant volume and see how it works out for me. Don't really have any evidence gathered to tell me whether or not is a greater than 50% chance of working, but at least from what I've seen in recent weeks, the stocks that are really coming up and then end up making a secondary move higher seem to be going up in that second 1 minute candle as well. Yes, not really too much to watch at the moment. GameStop just came down and broke below 200 very briefly, very briefly, but holding just above it again. I'm interested to see what it starts doing coming into the open. SPCB still holding, around $3. So, I mean, it could start coming up at 9 o'clock. If it starts looking strong, I'm going to take a trade on it, but I don't think I'll take a trade on it until it breaks over this 315 area and then, pulls back a tiny bit and then retests it. If it can retest it and prove that it can stay above 315, I'll take a trade on it. Had a few good trades this morning though, so about $15 this morning. Looking good. I think that I've really only been trading with like share size of like 20, so $15 on 20 shares made like 75 cents this morning. Not bad. I will take it. 75 cents per share, that is. So really the goal right now is just trying to stay green. So if we can consistently be green and make good trades, then, as we up our share size, we'll be able to make more money doing the same thing. So we just gotta stay true to our plan. SPCB pushing up into 315 again. A little bit more volume coming in on this candle, but bounced pretty hard off 315, back down close to 3. See if it can hold up. And this is the last 5 minute candle before 9 o'clock. So I'd say decently important. So this 1 minute seems to be holding up better than any of the other 1 minute candles that touched up near 315. It seems to be holding around 310. It's pushing back up again, but there's so much selling coming into these levels, man. So much selling. I don't know if this is just like people like trying to short this thing into the ground or what's going on. I guess we'll know if it's people shorting. If this thing starts breaking and then like, if this jumps now from, like if it pushes back up to 320 and then immediately moves to like 350 or something, then I assume this has to be shorts, and then they're like closing their position as they move up. We saw it 3 cent breakout that time. Now pulling back down closer to 3 again. Just story of this morning with the stock. Very small breakout, then immediate pullback. This time it seems to be holding this pullback a little bit better. Very, very high volume. Really, really high volume. Over 1 million shares of volume traded every single 1 minute candle, which is it's pretty significant. TKAT popped up on the scanners, but doesn't really seem to be moving too much. TKAT kind of made a move yesterday, so I don't expect it to make another move today unless it's coming up on different news. Fairly low float stock though, 6 million shares, so could start moving if volume comes into it. Two minutes left on this 5 minute candle. And now SPCB seems to be holding pretty well above 310, surprisingly. We'll see what happens in the first 5 minute candle at 9 o'clock. If 9 o'clock hits and then all of a sudden we see more volume coming into SPCB, and we see it getting bought up, then it might be a time to take a trade. We see 9 o'clock rolls around and people start taking profits and it just tanks back to 280, then probably just leave it alone for the rest of the morning. It's really the only one to watch at the moment. Like I said, we've had very few other ones that popped up today, and just pulled back completely. ZKIN pulled back really far down now. SNES, same thing. So it's just, although SPCB isn't really moving optimally, it's not moving the way we want it to. It's the only thing that's actually moving in the right direction at the moment. We'll give it a second, see what happens at 9. 45 seconds to 9. Keep your eyes on those scanners. Watch to see if anything starts popping up. Okay, 20 seconds. Putting in a little bit of a red 1 minute candle in SPCB. Also, huge drop off in volume in the last 5 candles. So we had like 1.4 million shares traded down to 300,000 shares traded in this candle. And this candle seems to be driving back into $3. So pretty big red candle there as far as things go for SPCB. We just hit 9 o'clock. Keep an eye out for anything exciting happening here. Really no movement on the scanners just yet. SPCB, no particularly good volume coming in. I think people are waiting to see which direction it's going to break in. Technically, SPCB has actually put in 5 green candles in a row, but they are the smallest 5 minute green candles I've ever seen in my life. Most of them have like a range of about 5 cents. So first 1 minute candle here on SPCP dropped below 3, but seems to be holding back up above it. And unfortunate, in the first minute of 9 o'clock, nothing coming up on news. So I'd say it's unlikely that anything's going to come up on news for the next few minutes. So yeah, did a couple decent trades today. Overall, not really too much going on this morning. Obviously, market as a whole not looking spectacular in the last couple days. Yesterday or 2 days ago, after market hit all-time highs, yesterday sold off quite a bit, and now we're getting a little bit of a sell-off coming into 9 o'clock here. So I don't know if this is gonna be a little view of the future to see what we're in for today. But usually when the market is downtrending, in general, the low float, medium float, like early morning, movers do not do as well either. So if the market continues going down into the open, I would expect that we might not see much good movement coming into the open. Unfortunately, I think really the only thing we have to watch right now. Let's see how CLVS is doing. CLVS is not looking good. So yeah, I think really the only thing we have to watch into the open is SPCB. It's really the only thing that's even close to its highs. I'm gonna watch GameStop as well, just to see what it ends up doing. If it starts coming back up near 220, then maybe I'll buy into it. But I don't know. I have a feeling that this thing is going to start trending down even harder today. Yeah, SPCB definitely holding close to its highs. Really good volume. Highest volume of the day are all technically green candles right now. So it's the best you can ask for going into the open. And it's holding above view up, so it's looking okay. Nothing else coming up on the scanners. Fortunate. Yeah, I mean, this might be a day to take it easy coming into the open. I would say I'm not really expecting SPCB to make a big move, just because it's been looking fairly weak coming into the highs. So I think today I'll probably just sit back. I'll watch the scanners. If anything pops up on the scanners and it looks like it's making like a really solid move, I'll probably take a trade on it. But I mean, SPCB would definitely have to prove its strength to me before I trade into the open on it. It just has not been looking good. So today's definitely a day to be safer. So I think everyone should just take a deep breath today. Make sure you have good setups if you're gonna buy on anything. And don't get tricked into buying when some of these things are looking really weak. Don't buy just because you feel like you need to. I think that's actually a very good skill to have in trading. It's just like being able to sit out for a little bit if nothing is moving and nothing is putting in the indicators that you want to get a good trade. Like just don't take the trade. I know it's definitely hard for some people to do that because they like being in the action, especially if you take like no trades on a day. You feel like you haven't really done anything. But it's better to take no trades and not lose any money than take a whole bunch of bad trades just because you feel like you need to and just get wrecked on them. I think this morning is one of those mornings when it's just time to sit back, watch, and see if you can find a good setup. And if you can't, just don't do anything. I'll give this until 9:10 here. I usually don't like trading the last 10 minutes into the open. So I'll give it until 9:10. If we don't see any news pop up at 9:10, then I'll probably just cut the stream. Since nothing really seems to be moving, I don't foresee us taking a trade on SPCB. I already don't like trading into the open, and the way this thing has been acting, like even if it pushes up now, I don't really have the confidence that this thing is going to make a decent move. Especially going into the open when you know people could be taking profit on it. Just seems very unlikely I'll be taking a trade between now and then, unless something pops up on news. So, like I said, give it until 9:10, see if anything pops up at 9:10 on news. And then if not, go get ready, maybe get something to eat, you know? Get some more water, get refreshed before the open happens, and then be ready to trade then. And SPCB seems to be selling off a bit. Really, I mean, if this comes down through view up before the open, it's just like there's really nothing to watch going into the open. Because I mean, if it sells off now after it's been holding above view up for so long, like it's really not great. It's just been crazy how many like for the amount of volume that's being pushed through this, how many like tiny little 5-minute candles this thing has put in. Where it's just like barely moving up, just holding above view up for the last 45 minutes. Pretty weird movement for how much volume is being pushed through it. You'd think a stock that is an 11 million share float over the course of 5 minutes got 4 million shares of volume pushed through it, and that 4 million shares of volume candle opened at 301 and closed at 305. It's a 4-cent move, 4 million shares of volume. Definitely a fight right now between the buyers and the sellers. These guys are fighting for every inch one way or the other. GME's volume pre-market has just been abysmal lately. He's got no shares trading. Like this was like a big candle back here. It's 2,500 shares. It's like nothing. So I'm kind of scared that GME is going to turn around and it's gonna sell off really hard. It seems like all of the buying interest in it has kind of dried up over the last week. So I would be scared holding shares at this point. As I say that, just spiked below 200 again, tiny little bit. Alright, so 15 seconds here to 9:10. And then we'll give it, 45 seconds, a minute, see if any news pops up. And if no news pops up, then probably cut the stream here. I don't expect any news to pop up at this exact moment. I feel like usually if news is going to come out, it's going to be like 7 or 7:30 or 8 or 8:30 or 9 or 9:30, like right when the market opens. It's usually on the 30 minutes, but every once in a while you see something come in, in between. But nothing popping up at the moment. So, it's like I was saying before. I mean, SPCB, really the only lower float stock to watch coming into the open. Everything else that's popped up has pulled back significantly. So it's like we will watch SPCB, but I would like to see it come back above its highs, retest its highs, and then make a move further up for me to be willing to take a buy on it, just because there's been so much selling coming into it. And besides that, I mean, we'll just watch the scanners, because there's really nothing else to watch at the moment. So if anyone in the chat's trading into the open, take a deep breath. You don't have to take a trade today if you don't want to. The market is generally been trending down the last day, and seems to have dropped quite a bit at 9. So this might not be the best day. So just make sure if you are taking trades that your setups are good. Don't just take a trade because you feel like taking a trade. All right. Good luck trading, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.